Hello and welcome to this week's business chat with me, Glenys Chatterley. Today I have the amazing Julian Roberts who's with me to talk about, well, all sorts of things really. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by Julian tell us about yourself, Julian.
Good to see you, Glenys, and I've never been called amazing before in that context. So that's really nice. Love to hear that. Lovely. I own an executive coaching and training company called Julian Roberts Consulting. And I predominantly help CEOs, business owners and leaders sort of unlock their leadership potential so they have greater impact. And I tend to do this on a one-to-one basis or in group sessions or workshops. And I guess my big thing is I help leaders get unstuck, whether that's professionally or personally, and therefore unlock that potential. But also, a lot of my coaching gives real clarity to situations and also helps smash down those limiting beliefs that we all get occasionally when we're trying to execute on those big sort of plans that we have for us all.
Yeah, I think I had a business coach when I used to have the catering company, and he helped me to realize that it was never going to be what I wanted it to be or needed it to be, which was quite emotionally draining because this was something I'd built for 18 years. And it was right. During the process, there were many moments where he said, "What's the difference between those two things?" And I went, actually, there isn't. So an example was, I used to say, well, we do buffets and we do funerals. And he said, well, what's the difference between those two things? And I said, actually, the only difference is I asked the question, would you like us to wear black ties for the uniforms? And they're over a lot faster than almost any other event you can ever think of. But yeah, I think it's having that person to go to say, I was thinking of this. What do you think? And them going, oh, let's talk that through a little more. So, yeah, I see the value. I have a theory that you shouldn't start a business without a business coach in some sort of description, and who might be a mentor as well, but I don't know. And I used to say a great accountant, and my accountant said, no, you want a tax advisor who happens to be an accountant. That's what you need, really. So yeah, so you're on my tick list of people should have. People should have. So what was the background? What brought you to where you are?
Well, I'd spent 20 years working in the sort of corporate world, predominantly in the food industry, sort of working for companies like Heinz, General Mills, Yoplait, and I worked in the sales and marketing area. Loved it, enjoyed it. I climbed the wonderful ladder of success as we do in that world, and I ended up managing, sort of large teams. And I realized it was more towards the end that on reflection, and this was sort of 4 or 5 years ago, that actually what really got me excited was actually seeing my team or my direct report win as opposed to me win, and seeing them sort of fly and seeing them sort of unlocking that sort of potential that I saw in them. And I then helped facilitate that to come to pass. And so that's what I really like doing. I did like the sales stuff. I was successful at it all. And so then I, 4 years ago, set up on my own, that brave new world of being an entrepreneur, which is very brave. And it does it. It's a big thing to do, but it's a great thing to do as well. And I wanted to sort of free up more time for myself and my lifestyle as well. And so then I trained as a coach, did some executive coach training and do some studying. And in fact, now I'm studying for a master's in psychology because I love understanding about people, behaviors, what makes them think, how they're wired and everything else, how they respond to challenges. And so that's why I do what I do. And it's taken 20 years to discover that and to realize that. But hey ho, I'm here now and I love it.
Yeah, I think I think one of the things when I left the corporate world, if somebody had told me 10 years before that I'd have given up what I gave up, I'd have thought they were mad, because I thought that's what success was for me. You know, but I then realized that, you know, parking space in London and a big office and all those people who did stuff wasn't actually success, and certainly wasn't fulfilling. And for me, also the big one was, it wasn't fun. So that's when I stopped doing it. But yeah, I think you're right. It is brave. I would also say a bit foolhardy for some people, you know. My rule is, if you can't take the money you're going to put into your new business and throw it out of the window, don't start the new business with that money, because there is a fair chance that that might happen, that you will have wasted that money. So yeah, I think if I'd have had a business coach earlier, I might have been even more successful, or maybe just successful would have done. So you've said why you do this, and what would you say if somebody was looking for an executive coach? What would you say the top 3 tips for that? You know, what questions should they be asking?
What, in terms of finding a coach?
Yeah.
I think the key thing I do with all my clients is I have what we call a chemistry session. So the important thing is, whoever the person is, if they've been referred, recommended, the best, they've been on TV, whatever it is, their accolades and their experience, get to know them, get to meet them, and see if you can work with them. And that's the important thing, because I get clients who come to me, or prospective clients, and it just doesn't work out, and that's fine. And I'd rather them say it's not for them. They might not say, "Oh, I can't work together," because I always challenge them. That say, "Look, the important this in this session is you've got to be able to work with me, but I've also got to be able to work with you. And if I think I'm working with somebody, I don't think I could work with them, or they're not at the stage they're at, I will say, I don't think it's for you right now, or I don't think I could work with you, and just part ways." So that for me is the important thing, is get to know the coach. Experience is good, but also getting testimonials, referrals of somebody else who's experienced you really does help. I know sometimes you have to take a flyer sometimes when somebody's starting out, and just talk around, look at, you know, what they're doing, look how they got there, and also their journey, you know, in their experience. Because, you know, it's important to understand, not that we have to, you know, I can coach anybody, but it helps if I'm coaching people in a leadership position in a similar context I've been in, because it gives a bit of credibility, but not always needed that way. Qualifications, yes, some say you need them, sometimes you don't. I think qualifications, what they do for people, they create a sense of confidence. This person's gone through a process, he's been watched, he's been observed, and he's got some theory behind what he's doing. Doesn't mean everybody who's got qualifications is a great coach, but it gives you some sort of a surety that this person has been more established and invested in themselves. And that's another thing, is making sure that person is continually learning and investing in themselves. And the last one is make sure they've got a supervisor that they go to, and there's accountability as well, and they're being coached as well. That's really important, because I have one as well. So I make sure I have a supervisor who then I talk to them about things where I get stuck or certain situations I'm unsure of, and it helps me grow and keeps me accountable as a coach.
Yeah, I come from I work within the post office, and I think with a big organisation, you can change careers without changing employer. And so I did counselling for a number of years within my 20 odd years. And one of the things I know, the skills I know I brought from that, are that I have it's the questions I used to ask in counselling are often the questions I ask with customers. You know, so what does that look like, type thing. But I think also I'm used to having somebody I am accountable to. Very sadly, my mentor died at the beginning of the year. And so I'm sort of, for the first time in lots of years, I haven't got a mentor. And I've been thinking about it over this weekend, that I need to get a new one, because the number of times in the last, say, month and a half, and I've thought, actually I need to speak. Oh no, can't do that. So yeah, I think it's that having somebody who can say, that was help me through that in the way you do with your customers, you know. Or do you call them clients? You have
I call them clients, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That sort of feels comfortable within your area. So you said about that it's very brave setting up a new business. Tell me, if you were doing it again, what things have you learned? Again, I always like the number three. So what three things would you tell people to think about?
I guess for me, I think if I'd in coaching, it's all about, they talk about finding your niche, you know, finding who your perfect avatar, your perfect client is. And I think if I got that earlier on, I think that would have helped, because it's really important to get that clarity of who your perfect client is, because then that directs all your marketing, it directs your website, it directs your conversation, and any activity you do, you make sure you're aligned to that. So I think for me, that one big thing is get real clarity on the marketing, well, the niche, your perfect customer client, and then that will inform your marketing. Because I think marketing piece is really, I think, difficult, and there's a lot of people out there who will claim to do it really well for you, but I think it's a really difficult thing to do. I think the sales bit is probably okay when you start engaging with people, but getting yourself out there. And then that leads on to the whole personal branding piece. And I went on a journey of trying to create I suppose, a brand of me in the right sense, you know, through, you know, whether it's social media, through conversations with people on podcasts. And I'd encourage people to actually get out there and start to make those connections, which then builds onto me is the whole networking piece. And I know, funny enough, I'm talking to somebody who's a master networker. So networking is I think in some ways people see it as a little bit old fashioned, but it's not at all. It's absolutely fundamental. And whether you network through podcasts, on the podcast, or you're on social media or in person, however you do it, network, you know, build a load of people around you, connect with people, get to know people, build those meaningful relationships. Not to sell to people, just to get to know people, how you can help them, how they can help you. And that's what I've learned, actually, is just to build a lot of people around you who you can sometimes call up and have a rant of, or really like what you're doing over there. How have you done that? And this can be people in the same industry as well. It doesn't matter, even your competitors. You know, I know loads of coaches, and we all sort of coach in different spheres, but I talk to them. I have a coaching podcast as well. So, you know, and it's great learning from other people. So they're my sort of advice, really. Yeah. So the marketing piece, know your clients, build your personal brand, and network.
Yeah, I think the thing about networking, when I first came into self-employment, we didn't call, I networked for all my life, but I didn't realize it was called networking. But networking is actually just building relationships. And like you say, it can be somebody that you can go, "Do you know, don't people," that kind of conversation. And they go, "Yeah, you're right. Oh, absolutely." And then you get people around you who know stuff. And I want to concentrate on what I really like doing. I don't want to know stuff. I want to know people who know stuff, and they can support me in my business. Because I think, especially coming from a large organization, or coming from the corporate world, or a job where people did stuff for you and with you, that you miss all that. You know, the fairies don't fill up the stationery cupboard. You have to actually go and order the envelopes, and they certainly don't get business for you. And you're not sure, are you insured, and all of that that you didn't have to do. You now have to do it, or know people who can do it for you. So yeah, I mean, you know, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of networking, and my definition is, if you're not talking to yourself, you're networking. Doesn't matter whether it's in the queue at a supermarket, or at a conference, or wherever. If you're not talking to yourself, you're networking. And I think people, because of you're right, people think networking's old fashioned. It's what men in grey suits do, and you know, but yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan. Thank you. So tell me about something you do in your spare time. And just for viewers, I always comment on Julian's map behind him because I like to travel and we've had many an interesting conversation. But what do you like to do in your spare time?
I like, well, the travel piece and the outdoors, and I have a passion for being outdoors. And so I do lots of trail running, trail marathons, trail ultra marathons. So I haven't done them recently, but I love just being out, pushing the boundaries physically, mentally. It's in with nature. I love being in nature. And what comes with that also, I love things like, camping, fires, eating outdoor around fires, building fires. I love all that aspects of the sort of more ruggedness of outdoors, just being a bit more raw, really. And that's what gets me excited. I love it.
Yeah, you wouldn't get me into a tent if you paid me huge amounts of money. However, I still remember being taught at the guides how to build a fire, and the first thing you do is you cut the top surface away so that when you finish, you can put the top surface back, and it's as if you have never been there. And it's interesting the things how to have a boiled egg sitting upright without actually having an egg cup, because when you're camping they tend not to get packed. So I was 12. It came in useful eventually, or it will do at some point. So you've this career you've got, is it something that you think you will do forever? Or is it something that you think, actually, I might do something else in the future?
I've got a mission or a purpose, you want to call it that, to unlock the leadership potential of 100,000 leaders.
Wow.
Which sounds very grand, but it pushes me. It puts me out into different spheres all around the world in all what I do, whether it's podcasting, whether it's creating courses, getting into organizations. So that's my mission, and I chose to accept it. So however that forms out, I don't get too caught up on. At the moment, it's coaching, and I love it. And I'm wanting to build my business. I'm looking at doing masterminds as well, where you get groups of people over a period of time, spend some time with them, and sort of do that sort of coaching, mentoring along the way. I want to build, more coaches that will work under my brand at some point as well. So, yeah, I've got big dreams, and the premise of it all is all about seeing people unlock their potential and seeing them do greater things than they thought they could do. So I can see me doing it way into my 60s, 70s. I don't worry too much about retirement, even though I don't think we should retire in that sense, really.
No, it's not the age, it's the mileage, isn't it?
Yeah, and because I don't really, my work, because when you love something, when you've got a passion about it, it doesn't feel so much like work in that context, really. So I just enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things I like to see is somebody who is, say, new to networking or new to business, and watching them thrive. And and especially youngsters, because there's a guy that I'm in contact with, and I always say to him, how did you get so smart so young? Because he knows stuff and he's always teaching me stuff, and you think, but then I think to myself, yeah, business is in good hands because the baton can be passed, and there are young entrepreneurs out there who are keen and doing all that stuff. So yes, so it's been a blast. Thank you, and you are fabulous, and I'm just so happy that we have this opportunity together. For those of you who are watching, please do the usual, which is subscribe, please, comment, like, watch to the end. And I know I always mention the algorithms, and I know I always say I'll go and find out what it means, but apparently it messes with their heads if you don't watch it to the end. So please do that for me. And let's get back together next week for another session of Business Chat. Thank you for your time, Julian. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Glenys. Really appreciated it.